So now it's time for social studies. We were working with geography and social studies, so we're going to continue working with geography. And you should have this page in your packet. It is on the back of day 13, so we're going to start with day 13. I'm actually going to try to include this whole week's readings and questions into this one video. So you can pause it and stop it if you don't want to work ahead. But it would be less uploads for me to do. So the first day's work the page should look like this, and it's Geography Studies Weekly, week 28, World Regions. And we're going to be studying South Carolina, the earth features and environments of South Carolina. And the map on that page is a physical map of the whole world, and it's kind of showing you a cutout right here of the state of South Carolina, and that is where we live. If you remember, we talked about the state, we talked about the Blue Ridge Mountains, we talked about the Savannah River, the Edisto River, and we talked about the Petey River. We also talked about how we have on our east coast is the Atlantic Ocean, and the two states that border us are North Carolina above us and Georgia below us. So let's go ahead and read the article today about your place in the world. South Carolina is located in the northern and western hemispheres. It is on the North American continent, and it is in the country of the United States of America. The Atlantic Ocean creates South Carolina's border on the east. Other states that surround South Carolina are North Carolina and Georgia. South Carolina is known for its beautiful natural features. The Appalachian Mountains run along the east coast. So we're talking about the Appalachian Mountains run along the east coast of the whole United States. That's a little bit confusing. The Appalachian Mountains do not run along our east coast. They run along the east coast here of the whole United States. Just wanted to clarify that. Each state in the mountain range gives the mountains a local name. In South Carolina, they are called the Blue Ridge Mountains. So see, they're actually on our west side of our state, but they're on the east coast of the entire United States. And we call them the Blue Ridge Mountains. They are known for their bluish color when seen from a distance. Lake Marion is the largest lake in South Carolina. 3 of the main rivers found in South Carolina are the Edisto, the Great Petey River, and the Savannah River. Okay, so after you finish reading that, there are 4 questions that you need to answer. So you should write it on top of your page, social studies, or you could do SS, day 13. So, number 1, what continent is South Carolina located on? What continent is South Carolina located on? Then, what country is South Carolina located on? What country is South Carolina located on? So you want to list 2 things in number 1, the continent where South Carolina is and the country where South Carolina is. Number 2, what ocean borders South Carolina to the east? So what ocean borders South Carolina to the east? Number 3, what part of the state do the Blue Ridge Mountains belong to? What part of the state do the Blue Ridge Mountains belong to? Number 4, what are the 3 main rivers found in South Carolina? The 3 main rivers found in South Carolina. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and move on to day 14's work. And that is where we are going to read South Carolina's regions. So that would be this area right here. And we're going to answer the following questions. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can see it. So here we go. South Carolina, earth features and environments. South Carolina's regions. South Carolina is divided into regions. Each region has similar geographic features. We will divide South Carolina into 6 regions. The Blue Ridge, the Piedmont, the Sand Hills, the Intercoastal Plain, the Outer Coastal Plain, and the Coastal Zone. Some of you might remember that song that we sang with those. The Blue Ridge region has mountains and forests. South Carolina's highest mountain, Sassafras Mountain, remember I called her Miss Sassy Pants, is in this region. The Piedmont region has rolling hills, valleys, and rivers. The word Piedmont means foot of the mountain. The Sandhills region, remember that's where we live, has rolling hills made up of sand and clay. Scientists believe it formed when sand and clay were left behind as the ocean receded. So that's why we sometimes have fossils here in the Sandhills region. The Intercoastal Plain has rich farmland. The Outer Coastal Plain has forests. And the coastal zone is long, narrow, and closest to the ocean. It has beaches, salt marshes, swamps, harbors, and barrier islands. All right, so now let's go back and answer those questions. Number 1, name the 6 regions of South Carolina. You're going to want to label your paper day 14. Number 2, what is South Carolina's highest mountain? Number 3, why is there so much sand and clay in the Sandhills region? And number 4, pick a region and name what earth features you would find in that particular region. So you're just going to pick one of these regions, one of the 6, and you're going to tell me about the earth features of that region. You can use the map, and you can very much go back to the page to read it. So now I'm going to move on to day 15. Day 15. And day 15 wants us to read the physical features here in South Carolina's earth features and environment. So we're going to go right over here to these physical features. I'm going to try to see, maybe blow it up a little bit more. All right. So I'm going to get started reading. First, I can see there's a map of South Carolina. I'm looking at the legend. It tells me about the state capital. It tells me about some important cities, or towns. It tells me about some rivers and some lakes. Then there's some pictures of some different things in South Carolina, like the Russell B. Russell Dam, the Richard B. Russell Dam, the Spanish moss hanging from these trees, the red fox and the white-tailed deer, and even magnolia trees and an alligator. I wonder if these things are all in South Carolina. Let's read and find out. Physical features. South Carolina's border on the east is a long stretch of beach called the Grand Strand. The Grand Strand is over 100 miles long. This beach becomes a series of marshes and sea islands. These continue down into Georgia. So you can see right here is labeled on the map the Grand Strand. South Carolina is a home to a variety of plants and wildlife. There are magnolia trees and Spanish moss on the coastal plain. Some animals are on the coastal plain include the white-tailed deer, red foxes, wild pigs, alligators, snakes, and hundreds of bird species. South Carolina has many rivers, but did you know all of its large lakes are man-made? Dams were built on the rivers to generate hydroelectric power. As the water filled in behind the dam, lakes were formed. Now you can do fun activities like boating, fishing, or swimming on them. So that's also how Lake Murray was formed, is we have the big dam that you can cross over with your cars, and that dam was built just like the other dams to have power. So our electric company, now it's called Dominion, but it used to be SCE&G, owns that dam and everything around it pretty much, so that they can get power to us. And the lake is what happened because they built the dam. So Lake Murray is formed because of the Lake Murray Dam. Okay, so let's look at the questions. Number 1, what are some animals you would find in the coastal zone? Number 2, what is the name of the long stretch of beach to the east of South Carolina? How long is it? Number 3, why were dams built? Number 4, look at the map above the article. So it's talking about this map here. What is the capital of South Carolina? So you need to look at this map and find the capital. All right, and then we're going to move on to day 16. And day 16 is on this page. We're going to zoom out a little bit. And it's called South Carolina's Climate. So I'm going to go ahead and get started reading that to you. And then you're going to have some questions to answer again. South Carolina's climate. Oh, first, let's talk about this. Climate. What is climate? Well, climate is usually referring to the weather that we have here in South Carolina. So let's go ahead and read about our weather. South Carolina has a humid tropical climate. The summers are hot and humid. The winters are warm and mild. The warm climate in South Carolina gives it a longer growing season. In some areas, it lasts up to 290 days long. Because of the climate, farmers are able to grow cotton, soybeans, and peaches. The humid tropical climate also has its challenges. Drought and insects are a concern for farmers. With the Atlantic Ocean bordering one side, the state is more vulnerable to tropical storms and hurricanes. South Carolina has a deciduous forest biome. Deciduous means plants that drop their leaves in winter. Dogwood and oak are deciduous trees. Loblolly, pine, and red cedar are evergreen trees. Evergreen trees don't drop their leaves. With all of the trees, South Carolina's lumber industry is important to their economy. All right, and so this is showing the climate map of South Carolina, and you can see that the whole state of South Carolina is in a tropical climate. Nothing more to see there. All right, so number 1, what does the word deciduous mean? Number 2, what is the climate like in South Carolina? Number 3, why is having a warmer climate good for farmers? And number 4, what are some challenges we face in South Carolina due to the humid tropical climate? All right, so all of the work now has been done for this article, week 28, on South Carolina, and you have learned all about the earth features and environment of South Carolina, and you have learned all about the climate of South Carolina. So next week, you'll start some more on South Carolina. See you later.